Broadcasting from the Bayou State and all around the Gulf Coast and streaming nationwide. This is the C.L. Bryant Show.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to your Thursday, the gateway to the weekend. Thursday here in the jewel cities of the Arklatex, Shreveport, and Bossier City, streaming throughout the greatest nation on the face of the planet, the greatest success story the world has ever known, and that is America. I want to welcome aboard all of our friends in southern Arkansas and East Texas, as well as our friends in Wilmington, North Carolina. I know that there's so many of you who are joining us by our app, our C.L. Bryant Show app, the C.L. Bryant Show app. You can go to your app store, download that wherever you are, and listen to us on the go. And, of course, follow us on Facebook, the C.L. Bryant / the C.L. Bryant Show. Now, folks, I guess the theme of this show, and we'll deviate from it a little bit in sections on occasion, but none so blind as those who will not see. None so blind as those who will not see. And I am really glad that we have come this far as our technology is concerned and all of the things that make us the great nation that we are technologically. But Stephen Hawking's Institute, you should have heard about him if you know anything about technology at all, and I'm one of the few that I'm almost technologically ignorant, even though I have all the little gadgets and all that type thing, but I'm still technologically illiterate in most cases. But Stephen Hawking has said this: artificial intelligence has reached such a level that it is not outside of the realm of possibility that it can actually dominate us, take over, and kill us. Hey, we have to watch out for more than just snakes that we can't see these days. We're having to watch out for the Frankenstein monsters that we may be creating on our own. You have a smart TV, it can be hearing and listening to you. You know that. We talked about it. None so blind, though, that those who will not see that there's certain things that you must keep an eye on, certain things that you can't use unbridled. The frightening thing about it, and the thing that to be most concerned about, is that every keystroke that is done, whether it's at an ATM machine, whether it's on your iPhone, your iPad, every keystroke that you actually make in this world is actually stored with knowing who you are. Your car, if you have OnStar in your car, it knows where you are at all times. And I'm particularly concerned about these cars that break on their own, even though might want to get one of these days. But that is something that, hey, if it has that kind of technological knowledge, excuse me, of the car has that type of technological knowledge, it very well could speed up, slow down, or go off a cliff when it wants to. Not trying to knock it. Hey, Bubba, don't get mad at me. My friend Bubba Winningham up there at Chevyland, he has one of those Tahoes that I probably really want to get into. I'm going to get into one of them, too. But it will brake. It'll keep you in your own lane and all that kind of thing. I like it. I really like it. I love the technology. Don't get me wrong. Love it. But is it something that we have control over, or is it something that can override us? We're going to talk to people about that next week. We're going to talk to people about technological advances that are going on in our world right now that maybe we are not able to override in certain circumstances. I have heard that there are pilots, Boeing pilots, and I know several pilots. In fact, Raymond Cruz is a pilot. I might want to ask him about this. There is I've heard that there are planes that pretty much fly themselves, and in order to take the controls back, you have to override the system. I don't know that for certain. I'm going to ask somebody who does know about that. Switching the subject right now, there has been, and in the next segment I want to talk about this, it appears that there has been a steep decline in the border crossings of illegal aliens into this country. Yes, not immigrants, illegal aliens into this country. About 40% drop in border crossings within what? The last 30 days. Wonder why? I wonder when you put up bad dog signs or when you say house guarded by this and that, whatever, you actually deter those who want to commit crime around your neighborhood. When you put up the neighborhood watch signs and you enforce that, I wonder if there's a drop in crime behind that. Well, I just wonder if we have a commander-in-chief right now who is making it harder to get into this nation if you are an illegal alien by uncuffing the men and women whose jobs it is to keep people who are not supposed to be here out. I wonder if that sends a message to those who would come here illegally that was that message that was not the same message that was not sent just 30 days prior to now. Isn't that amazing? You know, people are being detained when they're caught now. People are actually being sent back now when they're caught. And I think that is an incredible deterrent. And hey, listen, Americans, we're not anti-American, not at all. We're not not anti-American, of course, but not anti-immigrant. Not at all. We're just pro-American. Anti-immigrant does not anti-illegal immigrant does not translate into anti-immigrant. Anti-illegal alien does not translate into anti-immigrant. Don't get that twisted. We'll talk more about it when I return. I'm CL. CL. Thursday, the jewel cities of the Arklatex. Want to thank all of you for coming along with us on this ride here today. None so blind than those who will not see, and there are some who refuse to see what the ramifications of what they're saying actually mean and the effect that they can have on a society, especially when you're in a situation where media, you wield the power of media. Jorge Ramos, you may have heard the name. If you haven't heard the name, you've probably seen him around, just don't know who he is. But Jorge Ramos is an anchor, one of the most prominent on a network called Univision. It is a predominantly Latino network. Now, I think he's a bigot. Yeah, I think Jorge Ramos is a bigot. You know why? He is wanting to create the idea in the minds of people that there is a yin and a yang going on right now with people who are illegal immigrants wanting to send a message to the rest of us in that this is not a, quote, white country. Yeah. He wants to make the illegals victims of that idea. Folks, tune in tomorrow because I'm going to be talking about the unimportance of American race problems. How unimportant that is. If you truly, and hey, yeah, we all have been programmed. But when we're facing, well, I just mentioned one, artificial intelligence taking over America. When we face people who can't feed themselves because they can't work, they don't have jobs. Help is on the way, though. I do believe that. When we face young people who are uneducated and won't have any hope of actually surviving outside of governmental assistance, we have to understand that the lame argument and issue and the argument of race in this country is so unimportant. And I want to actually make it a mission of mine to make that argument even less important by toning down the emotional rhetoric and ramping up the rhetoric of rational thinking. There is rational thinking that is necessary now in America in order for us to survive as a people. The Russians don't care what Americans they snuff out, neither do the Iranians or Little Kim in North Korea. But when we look at the rational thinking of America and those who will survive in this country in years to come, it is those who understand that business also doesn't care what color you are. Good business is good business, and anyone of any color can succeed in it if they have the right idea, the right work ethic, the right mental attitude. You can succeed in this country. It is those who would want to use whatever as an excuse to fail that do. Yeah. And the instrument of race, we're going to talk even more in detail about this tomorrow. The instrument of race is one of those tools that has been so effectively used over such a long period of time. Since it was actually meaningful back in the 1860s up until this point, it has been used in such an effective way and in such an emotional way. Jorge Ramos made this statement. He said 90% of illegal aliens, illegal immigrants is what he called them, but they're aliens. He said 90% of illegal aliens never commit crime. Okay, Jorge, aside from the argument that there's 10% of them that are committing crime, but you do have to take into account the fact that those who are here by your own admission, illegal immigrants, aren't they committing crimes by being here? Isn't that a crime to be here illegally? Me thinks so. Yeah, that's why the word illegal is attached to it, because it's a crime. But he wants to look past that and deal with the emotional issue as far as that's concerned. He wants to make it an emotional issue. 90% of them never commit crimes. And somebody's going to pick up that, and especially the progressive liberals and the bleeding heart college kids on some bleeding heart college campus is going to pick that up and say, oh, how unfair to send somebody out of the country who has never committed a crime, who was here illegally. Are you hearing what I'm saying about the emotionalism as opposed to the rationalism? Now, you can turn this into a race issue. You can say they're doing it because they're Mexicans who are here illegal. You turn it into a race issue and you make it an emotional race issue instead of looking at the rational argument here. And that is that they're here illegally. You can call them immigrants if you want to, but they're still illegal immigrants. You can call them whatever you want to call them. And 90% of them, if they're not committing a crime, then and only 10% of them are doing it, I'm telling you that translates to 100% who are here committing crimes, whether by presence or by actual deed. And the presence in itself, too, is a deed. You had to come here illegally, unless, of course, you're born here. And Trump has talked about, making some type of, allowance for those dreamers. He's going to make some allowance for that. I'm not saying I agree with all that, but just the same, he is going to make some allowance for it. But folks, bigotry is on the rise in the progressive liberal camps against conservatives who simply want to speak their minds on college campuses, against even the professors who bring the conservatives to the college campuses. They're being beat up too. I told you just a few days ago that that is the true essence of fascism. Oh, yeah. Yeah, fascist. He doesn't want you to say anything as far as what you think is right. I'm CL. We'll be back. CL Thursday here in the Jewel Cities of the Arklatex. 320-5335 320-5335 is the number to call. I'd be happy to talk to you about anything that might be on your mind this evening. On the line with me now, we'll take this call. Richard, thank you for listening. Thank you for calling. What's on your mind?
CL.
Hey, man.
I got a chance to listen to a radio show out of Dallas that was talking about the Mexican immigration laws.
Mm-hmm.
The big ones were when an immigrant, meaning if I went to Mexico and I did not have a work visa and I showed up at work, if the police showed up to the gate guard and asked to see their register, I had to have an ID, a visa, work permit, a visa number.
Richard, or else, or what? Did we lose him, Jay? Did we lose him, Michelle? Is he still there? All of a sudden, he just, Richard, I guess we lost him there. He's calling back. But anyway, he's right. Because there has to be, no, I could hear him. Okay. Okay. Are you there? All right, listen. He's absolutely right. There is a requirement for you as an American, you as a Canadian, whoever you may be. Richard, call me back. We lost you. Okay. Whoever you may be, if you don't have certain papers when the federales show up on a job where you might be working in Mexico, I'm going to let, if we get Richard back on, there is an or else to that. There is an and what to that. Yeah. And the or else and what is you go to jail.
Thank you.
Yeah. Richard, you were saying, I'm sorry we lost you, but you were saying.
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you now.
Okay, great. Hey, no, they were talking about that. These engineers who worked in the company said that they might be 3 days before somebody realized, hey, where's this guy at? And then they realized, oh, we got to go get an attorney and get him out of jail.
So if he didn't have the work permit, if he didn't have the papers, if he didn't have the ID, the federales took him to jail.
Yes, and they had done that multiple times, and they just automatically knew he's in jail because they hadn't been seen for either 48 or 72 hours.
He's in jail or he's out in the Mexican desert somewhere, never to be seen again, brother.
Now, the next one is, CL, is that if you are an immigrant, you have to have a means of supporting yourself and no state aid involved, meaning health care or financial.
Now, folks, are you hearing what Richard is saying? This is now this is Mexico you're talking about, right, Richard?
Yes, sir.
Mexico is what he is talking about, and we are over here bleeding hearts over what the Mexicans would do worse to us if you went down there trying to immigrate to Mexico. And did you know, Richard, that the Mexican government now has a video out telling the Mexican illegal aliens that are here how to remain here, how to avoid immigration? They don't even want Mexicans back in Mexico.
No, they do not. And the fact that you can say the hypocrisy for the press, but yet when you preach it and what your rules say you have to abide by are two different books.
That's amazing. Listen, man, great call. Thank you for listening. Thank you for calling.
I would encourage you to research into that further so that when you do talk to Jorge, you might be able to ask him about that and don't take his sidestep and let him off light.
Jorge is a bigot. I'm going to tell him that. Jorge, you're a bigot. I'm telling you, I'm going to tell him that. Because he is.
Ask him if it would be okay if the United States adopted the Mexican immigration laws intact and see what he said.
Richard, hold on just a second. Don't hang up, because you used the word there, hypocrisy. That is the height of hypocrisy for Jorge Ramos to attack America for its immigration policies when his native country has worse immigration policies than we do. If we enforce the same that you're saying, immigration policies that his country of origin, we would have a lot of illegals in jail. There's no question about it. Hey, man, thanks a lot.
Thank you.
I'm CL. Listen, folks, Richard's right. Richard's right. There is a level of hypocrisy that knows no bounds, that's trying to cloak itself. Oh yeah. They're cloaking themselves with the emotional issue of we're creating. America's the best. See, in the minds of progressive liberals, and I keep telling you that they're trying to saturate the minds of your children. They're bleaching the minds of your children in not only colleges now. No, they're bleaching the minds of your children in high school. And they're trying to bleach their minds with telling them that America, in all of these cases, is the bad guy because we are the one who are victimizing people. No, we're not. No, we are not. I used the example many times of you looking out your front porch, out your front window, or out your back window, looking into your backyard, wherever, looking in your car, wherever you are looking, and there is someone who's there in your backyard or on your front porch who will not leave. They're there illegally. What do? You call the authorities and you have them removed. If the law doesn't handle it, and I'm not insinuating that you take the law into your own hands, but there is a level of tolerance that then has to kick in. I'm CL. Back in a minute. Don't you go anywhere.
Broadcasting from the Bayou State and all around the Gulf Coast and streaming nationwide. This is the C.L. Bryant Show.
Welcome back. It is I, your native son, CL, right here in the jeweled cities of the Arklatex, Shreveport, and Bossier. We are streaming live throughout the greatest nation on the face of the earth, the greatest success story the world has ever known. Download the free CL Bryant Show app onto your iPhone or Android device. All our friends there in Wilmington, North Carolina, I want to thank you for being a part of the show here today, and southern Arkansas and East Texas. I want to thank you as well. Joining me again on the show now is the National Federation of Republican Women's president. Her name, Carrie Allman. The National Federation of Republican Women is the oldest and largest GOP women's organization in the United States. That's NFRW.org, NFRW.org. Carrie Allman, welcome back to the C.L. Bryant Show. How are you?
Well, thank you, CL. It is great to be with you, and hey, what a difference a year makes.
Oh, you better believe it. It's a whole lot different since you came through with Rosie. Is Rosie, you haven't retired, Rosie, have you?
Oh, no. Rosie is actually in my barn in Missouri. She is safe and sound and ready for her next assignment. She is going to the national board meeting in Memphis to encourage women all across the United States who are coming to get on board with President Trump's fabulous Supreme Court Justice nominee, Neil Gorsuch.
Yeah, Judge Gorsuch is going to be a fantastic justice. There is no question about it. And for those of you who are not familiar with what we were talking about, Rosie is not an animal or anything. Rosie is a bus that Carrie came through Shreveport with. In fact, she went through the entire nation with. And my signature is on Rosie, along with a lot of. Oh, how many signatures did you gather?
Well, I tell you what, CL, we traveled to 39 states. We were on the road for over 205 days. I can say that Rosie went from Niagara Falls to Mount Rushmore. We held over 2,200 rallies.
My goodness.
Just not even exaggerating, but I know I shook over 300,000 hands. So
That's
I know
amazing.
there's at least 300,000 signatures on there.
So mine's on there with at least 300,000 of your closest Republican friends. Carrie, one of the things that I'm really excited about you and what you're doing is your promotion of Republican women to run for elective office. Why is this such a burning desire for you to see put forth?
Well, actually, it is the mission of the National Federation of Republican Women has been since 1938 to educate women in the cause of good government. And part of that is mentoring, encouraging women to get involved with politics and become comfortable that politics isn't something that just happens in Washington, D.C. It happens in your county. It happens in your city. It happens in your state. Women come up to me all the time, and they're like, oh, I just don't feel comfortable about politics. And I'm like, well, are you happy with your water bill?
Right.
And they're like, well, what does that have to do with politics? And I'm like,
yeah,
everything. And so the National Federation of Republican Women for decades has been hosting and promoting what we call campaign management schools, which is pretty much the ABCs of how to run for office. And especially now, we feel that women, basically, Rosie encouraging all the women as we traveled across the United States, it was the women who were able to save the House, save the Senate, and put President Trump in the White House. And it's just a natural to engage them and get them excited and encourage them to run for office and give them the tools to do so.
Now, you have a panel discussion coming up here in the next week, I believe it is, and it's the theme of it is "You Go Girl." You go, girl. And one of the things I really like that. I really do like that. One of the things that I don't think most people in our communities, wherever we are in the United States, wherever you're listening to the show in the U.S., I don't think we understand, as you were saying, Carrie, that our government begins at the kitchen table. Is it? Would you agree with that statement? Government begins at the kitchen table.
I absolutely would. And women are the ones when there's, it's not only something that women have to get passionate about in order to run for office or become involved. It's something quite often that they want to get behind or they want to tell their family about. And when women bring everyone to the kitchen table, if there's a problem, no one gets dessert until everybody's singing out of the same. And so by starting, with women at the kitchen table, at the grassroots level,
yeah,
that's where you get the excitement and the momentum to help women run for office. CL, you'll like this. I tell women that it's different when someone asks a man to run for office, and I never put anyone in the same basket, men or women, because everybody is motivated by different things. But someone says, you should run for office to a man, and, the next shaving, and he's like, yeah, I can beat that guy. And then the next thing, it's like, honey, I'm running for office. But the first thing out of a woman's mouth when someone says you should run for office is, oh, no, I couldn't possibly. You find somebody else.
Yeah.
And so the you go girl is simply when someone asks you to run for office, just say yes.
Go do it. Go do it. It is a duty I think that too many of us overlook. Tell us about some of the panelists. Who's going to be participating in this? And by the way, folks, I'm on with Carrie Allman. She is the president, National Federation of Republican Women. And that website is nfrw.org, nfrw.org. You go there and find out how you can become involved, and you be certain to become a part. All the ladies out there, and hey, men, encourage them to be a part of You Go Girl. Tell us who's going to be around. Be there with you, Carrie.
Well, I'm actually coming to Shreveport on Saturday, so to be with the Louisiana ladies. So I know that's near and dear to your heart.
Yeah.
Our wonderful board meeting is next week in Memphis, and our panel discussion is really exciting. We have the Honorable Allison Ball, Treasurer of Kentucky, the great state of Kentucky, who, by the way, had more than 14 women running for office last year.
Wow. That's amazing.
Isn't that
That's amazing. That's amazing.
Yes. That's the kind of work that the women of the National Federation of Republican Women do, and they get behind their Republican candidates, especially women, and now that President Trump has all these great...
Carrie, stay with me. I hear the music. Stay with me through the break. I'm going to come back to you when we return with Carrie Allman when we return. CL, back with you on this Thursday here in the jewel cities of the Arklatex, Shreveport, and Bossier, streaming nationwide throughout the fruited plains of the greatest nation on the face of the earth, the greatest success story the world has ever known, and that is America. Joining me is one of our native daughters, Carrie Allman, who is the president of the National Federation of Republican Women, the oldest and largest GOP women's organization in the United States. You go to NFRW.org, NFRW.org. When we left, Carrie, we were talking about Republican women taking their place on the political horizon, in the political game. I wanted to deviate just a little bit to Kellyanne Conway. I know Kellyanne, and Kellyanne has achieved something that no other woman in this country has ever achieved, and she has become the first woman to run a presidential campaign successfully, electing the president of the United States. I want to ask you this question, Carrie. Why is that not heralded? Why is that not sent out in front of young girls to hold her up as a bright and shining light, a beacon to be attracted to? Why is that not happening?
Well, in our organization, and my message to everyone, CL, is that Kellyanne is one of the most fabulous role models that we have out there, and to hear her story and hear her message is the kind of examples that we have all across the United States, and we finally have this fabulous role model for all of us to look up to, and for the press to just beat her up on the silliest things is just, I'm just so surprised.
Yeah.
I'm frankly surprised, because normally when President Obama was elected office, I don't recall burning a single car or throwing a single bomb.
No, none of that kind of thing. Now, they tried to pretend that we who were part of the grassroots organization, they tried to pretend that we were about that. We were not. I'm an original Tea Party. Everybody listening to the show know it. I spoke to that 1.5 in Washington, D.C. back on 9/12 in 2009. And I know for a fact when we left when we left Capitol Hill, it was not a speck of paper. Not a speck of paper did we leave behind. Certainly we didn't leave behind any burned out cars. No broken windows. Nothing.
And I think Kellyanne, I think Nikki Haley, Elaine Chao.
Yeah.
I mean, look at the fabulous women that President Trump is highlighting for us, and for women to, as you said, revere and use as role models. And like I said, you go, girl, get out there and mirror these women that have been so successful, but they've worked hard. And sometimes hard work is just that, hard work.
Let me mention this. There was a name that is here that I deeply revere. I have met her on 2 occasions, and that's Betsy DeVos. Betsy DeVos is also another role model that is in the shade and has been in the shade for a long time. I'm glad that she's finally finding her day in the sun, and that is because she is a successful businesswoman. And I think I have 3 daughters, and my son's the baby of the group. So all of my girls, we bonded real early on, and before a son came along. And so I've always told my girls that they can achieve and do anything. And I love to point to people like Betsy DeVos and others who have made it in business and sustain success. You can have success, but that does not necessarily mean you're going to sustain success. This woman is a keeper. She's a stayer. And also, that's what I like about our president, too. He has sustained success over a period of time. What do you think about Betsy?
I think Betsy is another shining star and a fabulous role model. And she has a very, very difficult job. so whatever people are hearing about her or whatever they preconceived notions that they have, they need to know one thing. Betsy DeVos is for children.
Yes.
And guess what? Education is for children. And
Yes.
so we need to pay very close attention because, you know, President Trump was a successful businessman in the hardest industry that I know of, and my real job, CL, is executive vice president of a commercial bank, and I know how hard it is to be successful in commercial real estate.
Exactly right. It truly is. And you know what? What I really like about his story is that he understands what it is to fail and come back again and fail and come back again. That's truly the American story, is that you have an opportunity, regardless of how the chips may fall. If you're willing to get back on the horse and ride it again, that American opportunity is always there. Now we have a president, I do believe, Carrie, who epitomizes American success. Listen, I want to thank you for coming on with me. NFRW.org, NFRW.org. Now, when will the panel discussion take place?
The panel discussion is next weekend in the 17th, 18th in Memphis, Tennessee, and we will have Allison Ball, treasurer of Kentucky, Cassidy Martin, the first college student to ever be elected to a city council position in Tennessee.
Wow.
And Leslie Rutledge, Attorney General of Arkansas.
Wow. Well, let me say this to you, Carrie Underwood. You go, girl. You go. And I certainly hope that you carry that message across the United States, and I certainly trust that there's a new flame of patriotism and service that is being spawned from the National Federation of Republican Women. Thank you for your time here today, and President Carrie Allman of that organization. God bless and keep you. Talk to you soon.
Thank you, CL.
I'm CL. This is the CL Bryant Show. Yes, there is indeed a new sheriff in town, and there is a new attitude that is circulating throughout the fruited plains of the great nation of America. I have told you that illegal immigration, or illegal aliens who are crossing the border, down within the last 35 days, down 40%. Why do you think that is? Huh? Was it the policies of the last administration? I think not. Why do you think that is? It's the same reason why when people know that you are going to protect your property, they don't trespass. It's the same reason. It's the same reason when you tell whoever is sleeping on your couch to get off of it and get their own couch, go to their own house. It's the same reason. It's that you don't tolerate it. America has laws on the books that have been there forever. They're being enforced now, and immigration illegally, aliens, that's down. I'll be back with Duke Lowry when I return. CL back with you on this Thursday here in the jeweled cities of the Arklatex, Shreveport, and Bossier City. And I want to thank each and every one of you for joining us here tonight, because it is a night that we are also looking at prospective candidates to fill the seat of my good friend Mike Johnson. I was just with him last Saturday. He spoke there, and I hope to see him in Washington next week when I'm up there. But we have in the studio with us someone who has worn the uniform of our community, a firefighter in his own right, has an incredible resume as far as service to his community. Native son Michael Duke Lowry has announced he will run for Louisiana House of Representatives, District 8, and that is Mike Johnson's old seat. Duke, welcome for the very first time to the CL Bryant Show.
Thank you, CL. Great to be here.
Now, as I always ask every candidate who comes through here, and all of them come through here, why do you want this job?
That is the question. Why? Well, you know, having been in public service at the local level within a city, you know, I know how budgetary struggles the cities face. I mean, I see that on a regular basis, have in my career. Sorry, I'm a little hoarse.
No, me too.
But also as a small business owner, you know, I have two small businesses, one a small finance company, mortgage company, and as well an oilfield service company. And I can tell you the doing business, you know, here is a whole lot harder than it is in other places. I've worked in the Dakotas, you know, in the oil patch. I've worked in Ohio, Pennsylvania, Texas, New Mexico, Oklahoma, in every oil patch across the country, and I can tell you it's a little bit harder here.
Why is that, Duke?
I really think that we have a little bit more overregulation here than we do in other places. And I think, you know, from my perspective, having that experience that I can take to Baton Rouge, you know, I think I can address some of our problems in that regard. But at the end of the day is, you know, right now we sit on the Louisiana-Texas line.
Yeah.
Arguably, I could move my business just west across the Texas line, and I could be more profitable.
That's true.
I could hire more people.
That's true.
And why do I not do that? Because this is my home.
Yeah.
This is my home.
Yeah.
And that's my why. I have kids.
Yeah.
I want my kids to be able to grow up here and stay here. And the way things are going in Baton Rouge, it's looking like that's not an option.
You know, I mentioned, and I always refer to myself as a native son of Louisiana. You're a native son of Louisiana. And folks, yeah, you could go anywhere, really, and be successful. I could go anywhere and be successful. But the reason we are here, and I like that, the reason we are here is because this is home. It's home for me, and I'd like to see our home become something bigger than it is. It has the possibilities of it, doesn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. But we can't, when you have government and state government at that, you know, in that regard, that has their boot on the neck of small business. And look, the state budget since 2004 has grown at 3.5% per year. And during that same time, inflation has only grown at 2.5%. 2004, the state budget was $17 billion. Today, 30. Now you tell me, our population has essentially remained the same. What's growing and what's not growing? You know, obviously state government is growing unchecked. And, you know, in this race, I'm the only candidate that's put forward, you know, ideas for reducing the budget and trying to get a hold of things. You know, none of the other and that was one of the things that prompted me. And I heard you interviewing one of my opponents the other night. Yeah. And it seemed like it got real close to identifying him as being the sole conservative in the race. And I sort of took a little issue with that, and I said, you know what? I need to call my old friend because he doesn't remember me from back in the day.
I do know you as a fiscal conservative.
And I need to tell him, you know, there's a in this race there is a distinct difference between myself and my opponents in the race, and that difference is record. record, not rhetoric. You know, I told Mike Johnson during the congressional race, because I supported Mike. I've helped conservatives for years get elected. And I told Mike, I said, you know, this race comes down to record, not rhetoric. And it's the same in this race.
I do remember. Let me jump in here for just a second, Duke. Let me, by way of full disclosure, I do remember Duke very clearly. Duke is an original Tea Partier. He is a fiscal conservative. He was with me, Jenny Beth Martin, and a fellow who is really near and dear to my heart, Rob Goodday. Rob Goodday, folks, those of you who know of my film and have seen my film Runaway Slave, Rob Goodday was the first person I ever uttered those words to. He is the guy who posted my speech that I gave 8 years ago in April. In Bossier, he posted that to the internet, and FreedomWorks 8 years ago picked that up.
Rob, actually, you'll love this story. I had occasion to run into Rob. Rob is still doing a lot of good things today. You know, back when the floods in Walker, Louisiana, down South Louisiana, Rob was at the forefront of the Cajun Navy. He was right there on the ground organizing and implementing. And when Ronnie was involved and myself, and when we were doing all of the supply runs with the 18-wheelers and taking resources down, Rob was coordinating us to get us going in the right directions to the different.
We had him on during the height of that, and I mean his heart, he almost made me break down. I'm going to get choked up thinking about it. He almost made me break down on radio because he was so choked up over what he was seeing happening to us here in Louisiana. And great friend. So I know you. I do know you as a fiscal conservative. I do know that, and that's what Louisiana needs. I'm going to be back with Duke Lowry in just a minute. He is candidate for District 8. Mike Johnson's old seat. You know my good buddy. I'll be right back. I'm CL. Hello, CL, back with you on this Thursday here in the jewel cities of the Arklatex, Shreveport and Bossier City. I want to remind all of you that on next Wednesday, you want to tune in the show. I will be broadcasting a show back to you from Capitol Hill. I'll be there with many of us who have planned for a day of action today. The president of our organization I'm closely associated with, FreedomWorks, Adam Brandon, yesterday he came out of a meeting with President Trump, and we're going to be talking about that. That interview I'll have with him tomorrow on tomorrow's show. Tune in. I'll be interviewing President of FreedomWorks, Adam Brandon. Now we're back with District 8 candidate here in the March 25th election that is coming up, Michael Duke Lowry. Now, Duke, when we left, you were telling us what separates you from the other candidates.
Yeah, you know, the other guys in the race, I mean, they're great guys. I know them all. I've been friends with them forever. And at the end of the day, this race, it really comes down to record, not rhetoric, because the person that goes into this seat, they're going to have to be ready on day one. They're going to set foot in the legislature. It'll already have been started. I come to the table with a record already. You know, I'm the only candidate in this race who has a record. You know, as you know, in the last two sessions, we had the highest tax increases in the history of Louisiana. Mm-hmm. I'm the only candidate in this race that has a record of going and opposing those tax increases. I'm the only candidate that has a record. Remember when Common Core was being debated?
Oh, yeah.
Only one candidate in this race went down to Baton Rouge on his own time, testified, and fought and lobbied against Common Core. Sanctuary cities. Again, I was a man on an island. I'm glad my opponents are here today and they're concerned. I wish they would have been in the fight in years past. You know, I've been helping conservative candidates get elected across the state, from Jeff Landry. I mean, you name it, for years.
My good buddy Jeff Landry, the most conservative attorney general we've ever had. And he was the most conservative in the race. Now, Duke, let's transition just a little bit, because now all of you know how I feel about Islamic terrorism and Islamic terrorists. So you know how I feel about that. If you listen to the show one day, you know how I feel about that. The Shreveport Times ran a statement of yours some time ago now, and many thought that it was signaling something that I want you to speak to with right here, give you that forum to speak to what you were, clarify what you were saying about it.
Absolutely. You know, here's the deal. In the Shreveport-Bossier metropolitan area, it is a fact that there are Muslim-owned businesses that take money and they're sending it back over, funding. We know what they're funding, okay? Mm-hmm. And on the dates that I made, the comments that I made back, you know, that I posted on February, November 15th, I think, 2015, something to that extent. You know, do you know what happened 2 days before I made that comment?
What?
You had over 100 people killed in the streets of Paris in the name of Islam. Do you know what happened the day before I made the comment?
No.
There was over 78 mass people found in a mass grave killed by Islamists. Do you know what happened the day I made my comment?
No.
They found another mass grave with another additional 70. You know, at that time, we had a president and administration that wouldn't even say the words radical Islamic terrorism. Am I not telling the truth?
You're telling exactly the truth about that. There's no question about that.
And, you know, I'm the type person, if you want a candidate that's going to, you know, not call a spade, I'm not your guy. But if you want a guy that's going to have a spine and he's going to call it like he see it, I'm that guy.
Well, you dealt with that. And so, folks, you take that for what he said it is. And all of us know that I was glad when finally from the well of Congress, our president stood behind a podium and named the enemy for our men and women in uniform to identify.
And CL, that's another reason why I supported Donald Trump. You know, I was able to be a delegate for Donald Trump to the National Convention, and me and my kids and my family, We went to campaigned in Ohio. We went and campaigned in Florida. I mean, I probably knocked as many doors in Florida for Donald Trump as I did in my own district here. You can ask my daughter sitting over there on that. And I really believe that he's going to address the problem, and we're already seeing him take it up now.
Duke, one more time, as I always give everybody this opportunity to say again why you want this job.
Look, this is our home, and I have an idea about government and how it works. Having worked in government, I've experienced it, and I think that my experience, as well as the relationships I've developed over the years, like a relationship with yourself, legislators across the state who are not friends, they're relationships that I already have developed. Julie Emerson, Barry Ivy, Beth Mizell, Rick Edmonds. I can go on and on.
Ricky Edmonds, that's my high school class president.
Yes, yes, sir. I mean, day one, I can get something done.
Thank you for coming on with us. Michael Duke Lowry, candidate for District 8. That's my good buddy Mike Johnson's seat. I wish all of the candidates all the best. And Duke, I want to thank you for coming in.
Yes, sir. Thank
here
you.
Today. We're going to have them all back. Michelle, we're working on a forum here, trying to get something together. Maybe down at Ronnie's place. We need to work on that and get that together so that you can come and participate in the conversation. I'll moderate, you participate. I'm CL. This is the CL Bryant Show. Now, I want to thank each and every one of you for being here with me. I have Ronnie Ramides in studio with me, and I'm not going to waste that opportunity to talk to him because he's a shaker and mover as well. I'm going to come back to you. How much time do you have, Jay? You just got a minute here left. So, Ronnie, hang tight. Don't go anywhere. And he's got his lovely bride here with him. And we're going to be back in just a couple of minutes with more of the CL Bryant Show. I do want to remind each and every one of you to be certain to tune in to the weekend show tomorrow night. I will have an interview with my good friend, and he's just come out of the White House with an interview with our president, Donald Trump, and we're talking about how we're going to go forward, being somewhat divided on how to execute the repeal and the replacement of Obamacare. But I'm promising you this, we're going to figure it out, and it's going to happen, and it's going to be good. Trust me. I'm CL. We'll be right back. Just give me 3 steps, mister, toward that door. Be right back. CL, back with you on this Thursday here in the Jewel Cities, streaming nationwide across our great land. You folks in Wilmington, North Carolina, want to thank you for joining us, and of course you folks in southern Arkansas and East Texas. We'll be coming to Phoenix, Denver, South Florida. In fact, I'm learning Spanish as we speak. Pittsburgh, and Birmingham, Raleigh, Durham area. Those are all in the lineup for the C.L. Bryant Show as we spread our wings further across the fruited plains of this great nation. Joining me now is my good friend, Ronnie Ramirez, who has his hand and thumb in many of the local pies and the national pies that are baking throughout this nation. And we're going to talk business right now because that's what Ronnie is. He's a businessman extraordinaire. And moving on up. Every time I see him, he's moving on up. Ronnie, the climate of business in this nation right now, and let me mention that Executive Sedans is the sedan and car limousine of choice for the C.L. Bryant Show. Now, Ronnie, when we talk about business, the climate of business in this country, you've seen it in the last 8 years, what it was then. You see it what it is now in just 30 days after the last 8 years. Give us your take on, is it optimistic, pessimistic? What's Ronnie Ramirez's take?
Well, what I've seen in the past, just the past few months, is a lot more of the optimistic, a lot more deals taking place. And when we get a new administration on a national and federal level, even on a state level, it's as if we get a metaphoric, a new hand of cards dealt to us, and a business, the true definition of business is just managing your risk. And you understand what the new rules are to play by. So when you get a conservative that is for less regulation and pro-business, then your strategy for business is different. Now, you can still make money in a climate of liberals, because over the past 8 years we were able to make some money. It's just much more difficult and usually you'll see that if it's a liberal politician, very rarely, unless they're in media, has been in a small business owner. It's usually someone that's been in government their entire career.
So is it the regulations that has stifled it and stymied it? Is it the loosening of those regulations that give you the optimism?
Absolutely. The what they've done with the EPA and all the other regulations, they have people that have been affected negatively in charge of some of these organizations or these agencies, these federal agencies that are now, I feel like someone represents my interest, is there to first to look after the environment, look after the safety and well-being of our citizens, but two, to understand that the balance is there, that we have to have economic development. Look, all of our problems in society only get worse the less economic development that takes place.
Let's talk about entrepreneurship, because that is what you are. You're an entrepreneur, and you have been successful entrepreneur. In fact, as I'm growing up, I want to be like you. Yeah, but the spirit of entrepreneurship in America right now, it has a wide open field to run down. At least I'm thinking.
Absolutely.
And we're seeing that right.
Absolutely. The group of I guess my circle that I run with, we've all began to look at things a little bit differently. I've purchased 2 properties, one of the properties being more of a industrial style site, and that's shifting over. Before, people were unloading those properties and looking at apartment complexes, looking at all the things that you can make money during a poor economy, right?
Right.
But now we're looking at jobs staying in the states. It's not just the labor laws, it's the EPA emissions, all of the other regulations. But if there's a sense of fear now that it won't be quite as cost effective to bring in all of your goods and have everything made by foreigners.
Ronnie, I know that you do invest in properties and so forth. Give a word to the speculator out there, a property, a person who is thinking about speculating as far as investments. Is land usually the staple investment? Is that the go-to thing in an economy that, well, right now we're looking at very bullish. We're looking at something that's huge bullish. And if you're not in the market, you should get in the market right now and stay there. Stay there. As far as it's the only way to make money. But land, is that the best thing for a person who's just wading in? Is that the best thing? Give us some tips.
Well, I wouldn't say that necessarily raw land. It's all about where you purchase the property.
Where you purchase.
And what we've done, where we've been successful on the commercial side of things, we're purchasing properties that have been abandoned and left behind, and really had to look at with a creative mind, like much what we've done with the property on Marshall Street downtown, and turned it into the brewery, and an office complex. So it's about when you've already had your site work and your concrete and your steel put up, you can put a face on just about anything, and that's where you save the money. But that's kind of where we've been. But back to what we're looking at, in recent times, if you just looked at the way that the market has rebounded, the jobs, they only expected about 190,000 jobs, and we've had 300,000 jobs increase.
Amazing.
What does that tell you? If we've how many days are we into this administration? Okay, and I'm not saying that that Trump's the Messiah. I want you to see. Look,
Things
don't
have
worry
changed.
about what he's saying.
Yeah.
Worry about what he's doing. What's happening? How is it affecting your pocketbook? And so many people that have been led to believe that he is against you.
Oh, yeah.
All that matters at the end of the day is the bottom line. What does your paycheck say, and how has your family affected it? Okay, it doesn't matter what makes us feel good and all.
Yeah.
It matters how we're taking care of our family.
Ronnie Ramirez, Executive Limousines, I want to thank you for being on here with me.
Thank you for
We're
having
going to be back with Super Bowl champion Burgess Owens on the other side of the break. I'm CL.
Broadcasting from the Bayou State and all around the Gulf Coast and streaming nationwide. This is the C.L. Bryant Show.
C.L. Bryant back with you on this Thursday home stretch of the C.L. Bryant Show. I'm glad all of you have been with us for the last hour and a half. 2 hours a night is all that we ask you for. 5:30, 7:30 Central, and download the free C.L. Bryant Show app onto your iPhone or Android device and listen to us on the go. You folks in Wilmington, North Carolina, and want to thank you for welcoming us to your bosoms on WLTT 1180. And also, I want to thank our friends in Southern Arkansas and East Texas for coming along with us on this journey today. Now, on the line with me is an activist extraordinaire. He is also was a great athlete extraordinaire as well, Super Bowl champion, Super Bowl 17, Oakland Raiders. My good friend, welcome back to the C.L. Bryant Show, Burgess Owens. Thank you so much for being there, brother. How are you?
I'm doing great, C.L. Great talking to you again, my friend. And doing a very hopeful and optimistic time in the history of our country.
Yes, Burgess. It truly is. But let's talk about this as well. Let's talk about people who still want to carry on the ideas of victimization and keep that same old sad old tired old story going on where Latinos, blacks, and even women are concerned. We're seeing that. It is a sad, tired tale as far as I'm concerned. Burgess, tell us how you feel about it.
The same way, and I tell you what I also believe is that America is really fed up with it also. There's a reason why there was such a turnabout, and we all were surprised waking up November 9th to find out that our dream had come true. We stopped the Clinton bandwagon. But at the end of the day, Americans are seeing that they just don't like the direction. They're tired of being told they're racist and xenophobic and all those things that they're told. And at the end of the day, we are a nation that really believes in buckling up, manning up, getting out there and going to work and providing. And we're now ready to turn that corner. And those who continue to demonstrate, continue to take the time off to do that, will become more and more really relevant with time. I really believe that.
I deal with that in my movie, Runaway Slave, but you also deal with that in your book. Give us the name of the book and where we can find it.
It is the name of the book is Liberalism, or How to Turn Good Men into Whiners, Weenies, and Wimps. You can find it at Barnes & Noble, Amazon, or my website, Burgess Owens Talk. And you know, we share the same perspective coming out of the black community, and we both grew up in a time when we saw all around us up with pride and the idea that we were never going to be bested.
Yeah.
To see what's happened over the last 50 years has been just disheartening, to say the least. We need to change it.
And let me ask you this, Burgess. Now, so many would like us to believe that the American dream cannot be had for some. But you have just identified the fact that you and I certainly didn't grow up with silver spoons in our mouths.
Right.
The American dream comes about in what way?
The American dream has been available, has been accessible to every race, every culture from the very, very beginning. I talk about my book. A lot of people don't realize that in the 40s, 50s, and 60s, the black American community that was segregated led our country in terms of men committed to marriage.
Yeah.
They led our country in terms of the percentage of entrepreneurs. 40% of black Americans were part of the black middle class. And I was part of that. And CL, you experienced and saw all around you that experience. So it has always been available. What we have is socialists and Marxists who would love to change our history, change our books, and what we're all about, and help us and have us believe that it's no longer available because it never was available. But it is available, and those of us who want to work hard and keep a positive attitude and like other folks will experience the great American dream.
Absolutely right. And Burgess, I know that you know the value of hard work, but that is not being taught. It seems in our educational system, it seems as though we are creating a codependent type of citizen coming out of our institutions of higher learning. When I come back, I want to talk about the effects with Burgess Owens, the Super Bowl champion of Super Bowl 17, Oakland Raiders. And Burgess, before we go to break, I want you to stay through the break with me. Give us the name of that book again. Give us the name of the book again.
Liberalism, or How to Turn Good Men into Whiners, Weenies, and Wimps.
How to turn liberalism, how to turn good men into whiners, weenies, and wimps. I like it, man. I like it, man. And I'm going to need an autographed copy of that, Burgess, so I can talk about that. I'm going to need an autographed copy of that.
You betcha.
And when we return, I'm going to continue with Burgess Owens, the author of Liberalism, the How to Turn a Good Men into Whiners, Weenies, and Wimps. We're going to talk about the entitlement society and the codependent type of citizens that we're turning out from our institutions of higher learning. Colleges, progressive liberal professors, I tell you what, they're doing their damage to your kids and mine, and it seems as though we're willing to pay for it. As long as you're willing to pay for it, they're willing to continue doing it. I'm CL Bryant Show. Gonna be back just a couple of minutes. Burgess Owens. CL Bryant on this Thursday evening, the gateway to the weekend, and I certainly hope that you're planning a safe and happy weekend here in the Arklatex, wherever you're listening to the show throughout the fruited plains of the greatest nation on the face of the earth, and that is America. One of our native sons is on with us. He is none other than Burgess Owens, who is Super Bowl champion, Super Bowl 17, Oakland Raiders, now and nationwide activist, speaker, and author of the book Liberalism, How to Turn Good Men into Whiners, Weenies, and Wimps. I think I got that right, Burgess. And Burgess, when we left, we were talking about, I want to talk about just that before I shift gears and ask you, I want to ask you a football question because it's concerning to us down here in this neck of the woods. But before we get to that, I wanted to ask you about the whining, being the weenie, and being the wimp. Is there a design to create that type of male in the American society, and why, in your opinion, would that be a goal?
Absolutely. And what I think Americans have to understand is that we too are we're at war for the soul of our nation. You know, we've been the greatest country in the history of mankind, the most accepting, because of our Judeo-Christian values. That is exactly what helped my race come through the days of slavery to become the great communities they were during the 1900s. And it's what made America so unique. And we have an enemy. It's called socialism, Marxism. And if you want to see the prototype of what these guys can do, this ideology, this very evil and godless ideology that does to any nation, look at what it did to the black race. Because in 1910, it was 21 white socialists, Marxists, atheists, race-controlled Democrats who began the NAACP.
Yeah.
And their goal was to do exactly to our race what it's now trying to do to our country. So if you want to see what the trajectory of where we're going to, look at Baltimore, look at Chicago and Detroit. You see where America's going to go if we allow these atheists, Marxists, and race-controlled Democrats to continue moving forward. And to the point, the goal of this ideology is to switch the role. I was just having this conversation with my daughter just this afternoon. Mm-hmm. They would love for men to become whiners, weenies, and wimps, because that is not their role. Our role is to lead, to guide, protect, and give vision for our family, our wives, our country. And we have in the black community just the opposite. We have young men who really believe their girlfriends should take care of them.
This is
their
true.
Girlfriends go to college and graduate, they sit back and play little games on TV all day.
This is true.
That is the vision of democratic socialists, and we cannot allow it to happen because that's not the foundation of Judeo-Christian values. So we're in a fight, guys, and understand it's more than what you see in the eye. It's a spiritual fight, and we have to be willing to man up and raise our families and not go send our kids to these colleges that teach them to be socialists and Marxists. At the end of the day, it's a money game.
Yeah.
Take away their money, they would change their ways.
Far too often, what you have just described as men wanting women to make their living for them is taking place in this country. And there is a governmental, at least on the Obama administration, move to make that even more of a reality. That tide, I do believe, can and should turn under this current administration. Burgess, I'm glad you spoke to it. Also, another thing that you spoke to that we deal with and have dealt with in Runaway Slave, and I know that you're dealing with it now, and that is the statistic that there was times in American history when the black marriage rate was higher than the white marriage rate in this country. And I want to have you back at a later date to talk about that alone, just that. But now I want to shift gears. During the break, Jay and I, we were once jocks, and then we have a girly girl in here who really does. She asks silly questions about football, and so. But anyway, we put up with it. I have 3 daughters, Burgess, and so I'm very used to it. All of my girls all knew about football. But this is the question: is buzzing that Tony Romo is being traded. How are you looking at the next football season? Dallas was looking like the shining star last football season, but Tom Brady, and the New England Patriots exemplify the spirit of America, in my opinion, by coming back from the dead and winning the Super Bowl. But how do you see this next season shaping out?
Well, you're talking to an ex-jock who doesn't follow the game very well, and I always have to remind people that I played with the Raiders back when we used to win a lot of football games. And I'll say this to the New England culture. You nailed it. What I loved playing with the Raiders during the time I did back in Al Davis days, it represented America. It represented a hodgepodge of just different people, a lot of no names, a lot of some stars, but we came on our field with all the different differences in the world, but on that field on Sunday, we put it all aside to win. That's what the slogan, "Just Win, Baby," comes from. And that's what New England has done. They are a remarkable culture that through all these years, no matter what's going on in the environment, they will find a way to win. So to that point, I have a lot of respect for New England and for Brady. I thought it was exciting with Dallas this year. All my teams, by the way, lost up until the last one. Brady, they came through. I just think they were going to win. But I think it's going to be interesting to see what's happening. The excitement, the youth in Dallas is going to be a fun thing. My dream at Super Bowl would be Dallas Cowboys and the Oakland Raiders.
Oh,
that
man.
goes back to our old days when I did something that brings everybody together.
I saw you when they broke you out, when they brought you out during one of the pre Super Bowl events. I saw him. I said, "Hey, that's my buddy Burgess Owens." They were bringing up there. I think you were on Fox and Friends, or
it was Fox and Friends.
Yeah, you're on Fox and Friends. Really proud of you. Hey, listen, folks, go get Liberalism: How to Turn a Good Man into Whiners, Weenies, and Wimps. Burgess Owens.
There we go.
Burgess Owens, thank you, man, for being there.
Theo, my pleasure, brother. Let's talk again real soon.
You bet.
Okay, all the best, buddy.
Back in a minute. CL here to close it out on this Thursday. I want to harp and hearken back to something that Burgess Owens has just said about the New England Patriots. And I know that you've heard me say this. That last Super. Listen, you know what, Jay? I'm still thinking about it. I still think about that win. That was an incredible win.
We'll probably never see anything quite like that.
No, I've seen every one of them. That's how old I am. I've seen every one of the Super Bowls, but I've never seen one not like that. Now, the reason I wanted to mention that, folks, was that this was the phrase that a Super Bowl champion in his own right, Burgess Owens, shared with us when talking about the New England Patriots. They find a way to win. That's exactly what Americans have always done. From the very beginning, we have found a way to win. There is no way that George Washington should not have been hanging from a tree. And all of those men who pledged their lives, their fortune, and their sacred honor, there is no way that they should not have been hanging from trees. They spawned and gave birth to a nation that we still call America, the United States of America. How did they do it? They found a way to win. And Americans, we now still, through it all, the ups, the downs, the good, the bad, and the ugly, Americans, I am fully persuaded, I am confident that we will find a way to win. We will find a way to be safe again, to be great again. We'll find a way to win as Americans. I have no doubt. And so, until I'm able to talk to you again on tomorrow, be sure to tune us in. Adam Brandon, president of FreedomWorks, will be on with me telling us about his face-to-face meeting with President Trump on yesterday. And I want to talk to you personally about the unimportance of race in this country. What's really important? Well, I want to thank God for bringing us to the close of yet another day, and I want to thank him for our men and women in uniform who defend our right to speak our minds. And until I'm able to talk to you again, I'm CL, and may God bless and keep you all.
We'll stand by your side, and the bond